Hey, it's Kindra and Brian with the Brian and Kindra Show.
Yes, she got it right. She got it right this time.
Yeah, because we all know it's really the Kindra and Brian show, but somebody needs to have their name first.
It's alphabetical.
Okay, stop. It's my turn again.
Sorry.
Okay, so we were trying to record our show whenever we recorded it at the radio station, and unfortunately we had a little technical difficulty, but we wanted to still get the same information out on YouTube that we were putting out on our radio program. So here we are redoing our little show. So I told Brian he's just going to follow my lead. He has no idea how this is going to play out, and it's going to be great.
Yes. Just like the radio show, actually.
Just like the radio show. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready, I guess.
Okay. So let's begin with, so first, last week, Brian, do a super fast recap. Last week we talked about
5 mistakes first-time home buyers make. Number 1, if I can remember them all.
I don't even think you have to remember them all. I think there's a couple that I think are like super important.
Number 1, pick your realtor. Pick
yeah,
your
that's
lender.
my favorite.
Pick your lender. Be pre-qualified, be ready. Make a good offer.
Make an attractive offer, yes.
Yes.
I like it.
And there was something else, but I think that was 5.
Those were like the important ones. Okay. So that was last week. This week we're going to talk a little bit about some real estate terminology, but mostly Brian and I we've been talking a lot about this. We want for you to know who we are a little bit, so I'm going to ask Brian a couple of questions and see if he knows his own answers. Just kidding. I'm just going to ask you questions and you answer them how you want to. Okay. First, why did you choose Woodward? You are not a Woodward boy. Why did you choose Woodward?
So I married a girl from Woodward, and she wanted to live in Woodward, so that's where we're at.
That's where we are. Actually, and your wife's name is?
Carrie Ann. She's a high school English teacher.
Which is fun, because we figure she just cringes at some of the ways that we phrase things on here. Don't we? Carrie Ann and I graduated. I think there's a couple of classes that she probably helped me make the good grade in.
That's how I survived college English.
All right, so I chose Woodward because I had gone to high school here and junior high here, and then moved back here in 2008, and I loved it, and so I haven't left again, and I don't really see me leaving again. I really like our community. So, okay, tell us about your family.
Okay, I've got a kid, Ashlyn. She's my oldest, 20 years old, in Wichita. Checking on a roofer guy there. He is getting after it on a roof today. Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. She's in Wichita State doing a marketing and digital arts degree. And then I have Hallie, who is 16, and Cecily, who is 9. So I've got 3 kids.
I have 2 kids. I have, my oldest is 20. His name is Ethan, and he's just a really stinking awesome kid. He works full-time, and he's just a good kid. He does a lot of things to help out his mom. And then my daughter is 19, and she is enrolled at Northwestern Oklahoma State University here in Woodward, and stays home. I kind of joke that she's the adult in the house because she seems to be the one who worries about everything the most. All right, so why did you become a real estate professional?
Actually, fun story. So I was a teacher first, graduated Northwestern, came to Woodward because that's where we was going to move no matter what. Got a job here coaching and teaching, taught for 2 years, and then I talked with the real estate broker about getting my appraisal license because I was kind of out on the teaching thing. And I came up with, she told me, instead of becoming an appraiser, she said, why don't you learn the real estate market by selling real estate first? So I went and got my real estate license, and within 30 days had my first closing transaction. And I thought, maybe I found my niche. And I'm stuck here ever since and love it.
Stuck here ever since.
Well, they say if
He's stuck here, but he loves it.
You're stuck. If you do what you love, it's not a job.
I believe that, and I love what I do, and I don't find it a job. And I kind of fell into real estate. I didn't intentionally have that happen. I started as a property manager, and decided that sales looked more fun, and so that's really how I've stuck here.
Yeah.
It does get in your blood. You do kind of where you can't get away from it. All right, so super fast. One of the questions that we had on here was, who are your favorite customers?
First-time home buyers, because I feel like they are, it's back to the education background we talked about. I feel like you are a benefit to them. You can give them information, wisdom, information, help them make educated decisions. You know, we love all of our customers, but like
That's
like,
my line.
Yes, sorry, I stole it. So like, but some of your customers are like, hey, I want that house. Here's a check. We go to closing. There's nothing to it. You still provide a service, and you do your contracts, and you make sure things are. There's a lot more to just than cashing checks and showing houses. But the first time home buyers are it's everything, and I think we'll get into a couple of the quick terminology things.
Definitely.
But there's so many terms, and it's the biggest investment they're ever going to make, and we try to protect as much as we can when they purchase it.
Definitely, and I agree with that. I love the first-time home buyers, but we've also found that I love. I don't know how to phrase it. It's kind of a weird group of people, but I love the people like my grandmother who've lived in their home for 40, 50 years, and then they need to sell it, and it can be a really emotionally trying time. And I can empathize with that, I guess is the right term.
Right.
I'll have to ask Carrie Ann later. But I appreciate that, and I understand that, and I love that they love their home, and I want to help them find someone else to love their home. So I love that type of selling position whenever we have to. I don't know. It's just a really special time. I
they're
think
comforting
it's really cool.
them, making sure they're comfortable in the decision they're making, and
it's tough. And I feel like I can sit back, and I'm not usually a sit back kind of a take your time, but with them, I'm able to go, let's chill for a minute. Let's see how this plays out. Yeah. And I don't know. I love that. But first time home buyers, I love that too.
Yes.
I love all the buyers that have babies.
Yes.
Those are my favorites.
So if you have babies, call us. I'll show you
Brian
houses.
show you houses, and I'll play with the babies.
Yes.
It'll be great.
It'll be great. Date night. Yes.
Hey, we've got date night. We're gonna go
look at houses.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Terminology, real estate.
Terminology. Don't cheat. Are you ready?
She said we did this yesterday. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I have let him practice, but I am hoping that he'll forget some of the answers because that would be fun.
Only people's names.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you any
comment.
names today. All right, so this is the deposit of funds or documents with a neutral third party instructed to carry out an agreement.
Escrow or earnest money.
Earnest money. So we use the term earnest money is what we usually say, and we'll ask a buyer whenever we're writing up their offer, we'll say, how much earnest money do you want to put down? And that usually gets us a big old...
What does that mean?
Okay, that was for fun.
Yeah, they feel like it's, what am I paying for now? Because there's a lot of checks going out.
So what is earnest money? Tell us about what that
really
means.
So earnest money is basically money that's held in earnest. You put it up in earnest. We hold it in an escrow account that holds your contract. So the buyer puts up earnest money. The seller puts up the house in an escrow. So basically you put money in escrow, they put a house in escrow. So that's what that means. So everybody has some skin in the game.
Skin in the game, and it shows the earnestness. So the more earnest money that I put down on a property whenever I'm making an offer, that shows the more sincerity that I have in the property.
Yes.
And then that comes back to me as a buyer at closing as a credit on my settlement statement.
Right.
Did you say that?
No, but...
So it's kind of like the first five... Oh, sorry. Were you going to say it? Do you want to say it now?
No.
No? Okay, I'll say it. So whatever your earnest money amount is, it's kind of like the very first part of your down payment or the first part of your closing cost. And so that comes back to you at closing, unless you default, of course. And if you default, can you lose your earnest money?
You can. Yes. So that's why
we're
there.
So don't default.
Default. That's why we're there, keeping you up to date on the dates of the contract, the things that you have to have done in place to get to the closing table.
Absolutely. Okay, you ready for your next one?
I am.
Okay. Which one do I want to do?
All
of a sudden it's hard. All right. That's the wrong game show.
Okay.
Okay, also
what
known...
is?
You can do it that way. Are you ready?
No.
If you don't say what it is, you're going to fail.
Okay.
Also known as a Handyman Special. This is a hyphenated term for a rundown property bought at a bargain, but needing work.
What is a fixer-upper?
What is a fixer-upper? That is right.
Is it Al?
Alex.
Alex, sorry.
Yes. Okay. So tell us about fixer-uppers.
So fixer-uppers are a tricky game. They're really hard to get financed for most people, especially any type of government-backed loan or complicated. But fixer-uppers, there is some money, good money to be made. I heard of actually a student I had that is in Oklahoma City now flipping houses, buying some big $700,000 flippers. It's pretty impressive. I'm gonna have to go hang out with Mr. Cody Job sometime and find out what he's up to. So, but yeah, it's I have done a bunch of fixer-uppers, and I've made money on a few of them. I've never really lost money, but there's just always a surprise.
On the lending part is what I like to talk about, because I remember being a first-time home buyer and being excited and thinking, we'll buy a big house that needs a lot of work and then we can do it. And it doesn't always work well with your loan type. Some of the government-backed loans have some very specific standards that the house has to be in. And I say it differently than you do, so you say it.
They just
Safe,
secure, and sanitary.
Safe, secure, and sanitary. I always say sound. I don't know. Anyway, it needs to be in good condition. They want to know that house is going to last for another 30 years. So, so sometimes by the time that we do all of the work required to meet the loan, you no longer have a fixer-upper.
Right.
And so it can be kind of frustrating. And so that's something that, and Brian's really good at that. He's good at solving those kinds of problems and putting out those kinds of fires. But we think it's important for everyone to know that sometimes with a fixer-upper, your loan type, it might bring some extra challenges to get you closed.
Yes.
All right, so tell us the difference between an offer and a contract.
Basically, a contract is an accepted offer. So when we go to put an offer in, we'll use the same paperwork. So all the same documents, disclosures, everything they're all signed and agreed to by the buyer. They sign them saying, this is what I agree to. We submit that to a seller. They look at it. If they agree to it with no changes and sign it, it becomes a contract. So that's the difference.
That throws a lot of buyers. They think that they're going to submit an offer and they think it's going to be verbal, or they think it's like a one-page document. It really can end up being
17 or 18 pages.
Oh, it's ridiculous. There's a lot of paperwork. We get it. We know it's stressful. And I go through it and it makes you crazy, and I'm sorry. But I'm not really, because I want you to know what you're getting into.
Yep.
But that's the point, is we want for you to know, if the seller accepts your offer today, we want for you to know and be comfortable with what you're getting into. And same with the seller. We don't want the seller to sign and say, we accept, and then realize that they didn't understand all of the terms and conditions.
Yes. So verbal contracts are very dangerous. I mean,
we do not care for them.
We do not like them.
No, I particularly don't care for them.
No.
All right, so what about disclosures? Tell us about disclosures.
So disclosures are required by the state, and so they basically, the seller comes in and says, they'll fill out forms. So does the dishwasher work? Does it not work? Is it not included in the transaction? And so the seller fills out this 3-page form that has all information about environmental impacts, any major updates on the house, like roofing, is it in a flood zone, is there any litigation, lawsuits, bankruptcies, financial, divorces, anything like that that's going to cause cloud on title. So they disclose all that stuff attached to your offer.
And disclosures are tricky. I mean,
yes.
We've kind of talked before about, it asks on our disclosure form if something is a normal working order. And we have we've had some situations where we've kind of looked at each other and went, is that normal? So what's normal for me that might not be normal for you or for you. And so sometimes that gets a little bit tricky. So we ask our buyers to kind of have some grace and understand that people, we ask our sellers to be honest. Please tell us the truth about what's going on.
The biggest things are like air conditioners and sewer lines.
Ain't that the truth?
It's like, I have to clean my sewer out every 3 months. Well, that's
not normal for me.
For me. But it is normal for them. So
it gets tricky. But tell us things like that you're not sure. If you're not sure if it's normal, ask us so that we can tell you what we see generally speaking, and so we can fill those out and be most helpful to a buyer or to a seller. Sometimes it's an easy fix. I mean, you fixed your mother-in-law's plumbing. She was paying $150 every
2 or 3 months. It's crazy.
$1,000 fixed your sewer system. That that makes itself back very quickly. So, all right, okay. Last one I would want to talk about. Right here. Okay. This one gets tricky. Okay, this is more of the Jeopardy. Well, I'm not saying it's going to be tricky to answer, but it's got some tricky things that come along with it. Okay. So, often physically attached to the home, these are items that were once personal property but are now part of the sale.
They would be considered fixtures.
Fixtures. So, what's an example of a fixture? Oh, can I tell a story?
Yes, tell a story.
This is awesome. Okay. Before I was working for Brian, when I was competing or whatever, like sometimes I say I was working against Brian, and that's not what I mean. Okay, so I was selling a property. Brian had the listing, and so we're at the house with the buyer, and there's a really pretty mirror in the bathroom. That's unusual. Usually you have like a vanity thing going on in the bathroom, and this one was really fancy. So it looked like personal property to me. In my mind, it was personal property, and it would not stay. So I texted Brian and said, I just need to know if I need to let these buyers know they need to come up with the bathroom mirror or not. He said, it's in the contract. Bathroom mirrors are fixtures. I said, consider me educated. I said school, didn't I? Consider me schooled. So if it's attached, generally speaking, if something is attached to the property, and Brian wasn't being rude. He's just, that's how he texts sometimes. Never take that personally from Brian. But if you want wordy answers, text me.
Yeah, my wife's that way too.
So
you come home, maybe. Sorry.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Talk about fixtures.
Fixtures, yes.
If it's
So our
attached to your
biggest
property.
ones, yes. So a refrigerator.
Refrigerators are our nemesis.
Yes.
Yes. How many refrigerators have you had to negotiate after the fact?
After the fact, multiples.
Multiples, because people think a refrigerator stays with the house.
Because the stove does. Why doesn't the refrigerator?
Because the refrigerator is not like an under-the-counter thing.
Right.
So the refrigerator is personal property. My refrigerator, and you guys would laugh if you saw my fridge, you'd be like, we don't want that anyway. But my refrigerator is mine. But my stove is my house's stove.
Right.
So when I move, stove stays, fridge goes with me.
Right. The new interesting is the portable buildings.
Yes, that's been a lot of fun lately.
Portable buildings are actually personal property.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So don't count on it.
So don't count on it. So we try to incorporate them into the listing. So we'll have an ad that says something, and the storage building in the backyard. That means it stays. Once it's marketed, it stays. But sometimes we've had them come in at the last minute and they're like, no, wait, they're moving my storage building. And we're like, it wasn't in the deal.
So that gets tricky. So some things we want to be really careful on. If
So
you're not
anytime you
sure, make sure you ask.
Ask questions, yeah.
Yes. But generally, if it's attached to the house, it stays with the house.
Right. So washer dryers, refrigerators, storage buildings are not
Those
fixtures.
do not stay. They are not fixtures. All right. Good information. Do you want me to ask you one more question?
Yeah, we have 2 minutes.
What keeps you in Woodward? Because this is why I'm asking this question.
Okay.
Because we always say that that we don't sell houses, we sell our town a lot of times.
Yes.
We love our community. So tell us what you love about Woodward.
So, one, I've highly invested into 10th in Oklahoma now, so I'm going to be stuck alone. We built a new building. But like this weekend, Saturday night, Woodward Main Street put on the Whoville Parade, and there was half the town.
Fun.
It was amazing, and that thing just went on, and it was amazing the amount of people in the parade, and there was amazing the amount of people at the parade.
Yes.
Perfect weather. And then the next morning, 7 a.m. we're out making pancakes for Christmas with Santa. Again, it was amazing to see that like Modern Appliance was there, and Sarah Boyce was there, and Kevin Kanzler's group was there, and there's a ton of us Coldwell Banker people there. It was a lot of fun. And then we just saw people, and Pioneer was there.
Yes,
and
Pioneer.
So it was just a list of people, and everybody just kicking in and helping out.
It was awesome. And this was hosted by Woodward Main Street.
Woodward Main Street.
What we loved was how many people from the Woodward community are vested in Woodward Main Street and wanted to be a part of that and wanted to help with that. And it was awesome. It was a great event.
It was great. And then that night.
And then, my favorite, fireworks.
Fireworks, yes. So we did the opening. We didn't sign up for the opening, but it was the opening. And so we got out to the Crystal Beach lighting of the Crystal Christmas.
Yes, it was Crystal Christmas.
Yes, and so we watched.
Did you take your girls to that?
They beat me there. So, but see, they don't like going to events like that with me. They like to take their own vehicle because I have an issue with like hanging out and talking. And so I thought, well, I'm going to be here anyway. So I signed up for the store, and wow, the gift store was insane. We handed out 10,000 cups of hot chocolate.
10,000.
Well, it goes up every time we talk about it.
It does.
So,
Tomorrow's could be like 50,000.
maybe a couple.
And my
hundred.
daughter and I made my daughter sign up to help me at the exit gate, and so we took people's money because that's fun. So donations for the Crystal Christmas to keep it running, and it's such a cool event. Our town has so much going on, and I think it surprises people because we're considered a smaller community. But man, we are so self-sufficient, and we've got a lot of things that we do that I just think are great.
Yes.
So
tonight we're headed to help out with toys.
the Woodward County Toy Giveaway.
Yes. So that's why this
It's my other favorite thing.
was not recorded live. We wanted to, but we feel like it's more important to go help there, and then they can record us and post us whenever they want to now.
So, all right. So from now on, though, our show mostly it's going to be live on 107.3 KLSI from 5:30 to 6 o'clock on Thursday nights. Did you want to say something?
Yes, next week. I am so excited about next week.
Oh yeah, you are. This is
funny.
your little sciencey, nerdy self.
It's
All
gonna
kinds
bug
of
them
excited.
people out.
That was so bad.
I know that was bad, but
all right. So catch us on the radio, KLSI 107.3.
And we have a lot of good sponsors.
We do have great
for
sponsors
this event.
Yes, we
So
do. But I don't have
you
the
didn't
list
have the
with
list, so
me.
we're going to guess. No, we're not going to guess. We have Bank 7, Connie and Melinda. We have On Point Land Survey with Mike. We have Woodward County Abstract, and there's a whole slew of them people. We have
Sherwin Williams, Comfort Zone, APC.
Yes, Eric Andrews, which is Andrews Professional Coatings. And then we have Comfort Zone.
I already
You said
them.
that.
Kevin Kanzler.
And then we have JCP.
And JCP.
Yes. So those are all, which is JCP is the termite guy.
Yes, I think we did it.
Jake Purcell. So, yeah. Got to get people that support us. We support them, and that's why
we say Bank 7.
Yes, Connie and Melinda.
Yes.
And that way we get this information out to you guys and give you some tips. And we'll start accepting some text questions, and when we go live, hopefully we'll be able to accept some live radio questions. We'll see who can get tested then. So, all right.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for hearing us. Bye.